Okay, welcome back, everyone. We're here, episode 4 of the Open Mind Theory. 4 episodes has been crazy so far. The next episode with Nick, spoiler alert, part 1. This is going to be a two-parter. Part 1 is coming out this Friday. That is March the 3rd. So please stay tuned for that. We post a bunch of reels on Instagram and stuff like that. But today we're going to be talking about entrepreneurship. The theme of today's episode is entrepreneurship, kind of having an open mind. How does that correlate with entrepreneurship? And here we're doing something a little bit different. We have 2 guests this time. I'm joined with my friends Jake and Daniel. And I think we got a lot in store for today's episode. So start with you, Jake. How about you introduce yourself?
Yeah, so first off, thanks a lot for having us on the podcast. I know we've been in talks for a few weeks now, so I'm glad we can finally get after it and talk about, having an open mind and how important entrepreneurship is, especially at this age. So yeah, my name's Jake. I'm a third-year marketing student at the University of Guelph, and I am the co-founder of Split the Tank.
Yeah, okay, and then so my name's Daniel. I am in third year of accounting. I'm on co-op currently too. And I am also the co-founder of Split the Tank.
Great. So I know you wanted to tell a story before we kind of get in here about, Split the Tank and how that kind of came apart. How about you kind of speak on that?
For sure.
So what is Split the Tank?
Yeah, so I'll start with the background. The idea originally came to me my final year of high school. I finally got my first ever car, and me being, a young 17-year-olds, I was just so excited. So I was constantly kind of just driving around my friends, going to practice, going to school, and me being very naive at that age, I didn't even realize the gas. Like, I was just so excited.
You're just driving,
I was just driving, having a good time, playing tracks. You don't even realize that. And then every week I'm just like, spending another $100 on gas. I'm like, okay, like. So I reached out to my friends. I was like, hey, guys, like, this is really burning a hole on my pocket. And at the time, my friends didn't have their own car, so they didn't realize, like, the situation of how expensive gas is, especially, for people our age. So then they would say, like, oh, yeah, for sure, Jake, I'll send you some money. But then, when they would come with an amount, I'd be like, okay, well, that's not really fair. Like, I've driven you guys every day. So fast forward about a year, I then, got to meet Dan first year, luckily, in East Res. And now at this time, I didn't actually bring my car to Guelph. Dan had his at the time, so right. Dan was now the roles were reversed, and Dan was constantly driving me around, going going from A to B.
Ironic.
Once again, the problem was started.
Yeah, and so then Jake came to me and he told me, Dan, you're a smart guy. I need your assistance here. And we formed a partnership basically, and obviously, I was really interested in the idea right off the bat. I thought It was something that that made a lot of sense, and that was because I noticed that issue as well. So in high school, I also had a friend who got his driver's license way before everyone else.
Yeah.
And he would drive us to hockey. He would drive us literally me and several other people on the team would get driven to hockey by him.
Right.
And it was constant. Sometimes I would get drives from my friends on the way to school who had their cars early as well. Mm-hmm. And we just realized that the issue is that people are just scared essentially to ask because of the fallout of asking your friends for a little bit of money here and there, right?
That's actually a really good point.
And no one wants to be that person because it's not really the norm. It's not acceptable. It's not socially acceptable to go and ask your friends for money after each trip. And
right.
That's why we decided that our app, what we want to do with it is we want it to essentially track this stuff in the background and facilitate that automatically to eliminate that awkward conversation that people don't want to have with their friends.
Yeah, I think that's actually really true because I think I did my fair share of driving like when I first got my license, and like then again I actually never even thought about like filling the car whatsoever. Like fortunately my parents were always there to kind of help me with that, but like I actually never filled the car up until now, since whatever I'm working now, and I was filling the car. But that's actually really true, because especially like when you're at that age, you don't want to ask your friends for money who aren't even working themselves.
For sure.
Everyone's got a lower income, especially in high school and in and around then. But I think that's actually like a really great idea.
Yeah, and it was really magnified during COVID. That's kind of when the cost of gas really skyrocketed, that was when people really started noticing it. So obviously when gas is $2 a liter, it starts to really affect people's perception on what they're paying. And so people that might generally be inclined to help out their friends or drive them to other places, that's when they really start noticing the hit right on their wallet, and they start feeling it.
And at the end of the day, there really is no right answer to the how much do I owe you question. Like how there's just, you can't do it.
You can't gauge that. Like,
how do you know? And
Yeah.
for me and Dan, like we've talked about it, and it's the short trips that add up. It's the trips where you're going to campus, you're going to the gym, you're going to the grocery store, but you're constantly driving around the same people all day, every day. They add up, and you're naive to it because it's just such a short distance. You're not gonna turn to your friend after
And
a
charge him for
3
2 kilometers.
You're not gonna say, oh, send me $1.
Of course not.
But then again, after a week, well, now it's up to $10, and after 2 weeks, now it's up to 20, and those short trips, they add up.
So question for you guys. So if correct me if I'm wrong. So Split the Tank is essentially an app that you guys are still developing, an app that's going to not only, I remember reading, but not only split the price of gas, but you guys are working to figure out parking as well. So if you were to park somewhere downtown Toronto, for example, you're telling me your app would be updated to understand the parking rates in and around the area, for example, downtown Toronto. So that would be split with everyone who is riding.
Yeah. So it's definitely there, and in the end of the day, I know we talked about this before. When an app kind of starts to go under development and you start to progress into more of an actual established app right before you hit the app store, there's some stuff you can't talk about just because the rules around intellectual property are very lax when it comes to apps.
Right.
And in the end of the day, it's very hard to actually develop something that has something proprietary when it comes to an app. So, there's limits on what we can actually talk about in terms of features. But yeah, the general idea is that the app, when it first comes out, the MVP version won't have a lot of the elements that the final app will have because it's going to happen in stages. We need to have an MVP, then a beta version. So it's going to take some time. But overall, the app, the end goal, the idea for it is that it will factor in every single thing, basically, every component of a trip.
Of a trip, yeah.
And that can even, include tolls, for example, which could be huge. That stuff like that being done in the background of the app.
Well, even crossing the borders too.
Yeah,
sure.
That's
would be
I
huge
just
in the
just
States.
crossed the border this past weekend, yeah.
And especially when it comes to the States, like that would be a huge, because in Canada we don't have that many toll highways. We have the 407 really, and
Correct. Yeah.
But and there's a couple others, but in the States, or at least in Ontario, but in the States it's a lot more. Like every other highway, I swear, at least near the borders.
They have a lot of
highway,
those type of highways there, yeah. Sweet. Okay. Okay. So as you guys are obviously both entrepreneurs. What do you think the importance of entrepreneurship has been in your lives?
I think it's everything, to be honest. I think it just helps you look at things a lot differently. Like before Split the Tank was, I was just kind of going through the motions in class. I just wanted to get my degree and, get a job and all that. But I think it really helps you think differently. Like now when I'm in my classes, when I'm in my accounting classes, my finance, my marketing classes, I'm constantly thinking, okay, how can what I learned be applied to Split the Tank? So I really find myself more engaged in what I'm, learning, and I can really start applying it to like being an entrepreneur and to Split the Tank. And we were fortunate enough to kind of, grab coffee with an industry professional there, and he said something that's really stuck with us. What he said was, being an entrepreneur is almost like the ultimate co-op. It's almost like the purpose of a co-op is obviously gain real world experience. And I think that us running this business, we're doing exactly that. We're learning every day how to, budget, how to market a business. And yeah, it's just, I think it's, really just helps us think better in general.
Daniel?
Yeah, no, I really agree with that. And I think it ultimately just really adds a cutting edge to your experience. So kind of like piggybacking off of that, the ultimate co-op is a great way to put it. And obviously, when you're an entrepreneur, you're always going to have doubt. It's inherent. There's no way around it, right? And we see
that's
that
human
time
nature,
of course. And people are scared to maybe take that jump to be an entrepreneur and maybe say kiss their job goodbye to kind of have a shot at making it. And that's the reality with entrepreneurship. But ultimately, that it's we were speaking to this one guy as well, and I kind of asked him, well, what happens if it fails? And this guy was kind of an industry professional, so I was curious to hear his outlook on what he would say would happen if we were to fail at it. And he kind of said, even if you fail, you're still two guys who started a company, right? And
Yeah.
you're two guys who ran a company that failed, and then you look at it and you think, why did it fail? How did that happen? And so that's really even that is reassuring from the point that even if it might not be successful, which we have zero doubt that will be the case. We're pretty
Confident.
In the idea and in the app.
You gotta be.
But it is nice to know that no matter what happens, just having the experience of being entrepreneurs and taking the shot is enough to give you some really valuable experience in the industry.
Like I think for example, if this were to go wrong, like later down the line, I think you guys would definitely look back and still thank yourself for that experience, because you still did something hard. You still challenged yourself. And I think that's like kind of one of the main messages here, like still taking that next step, because I think you guys can probably attest this as well, but like being an entrepreneur, I mean, I guess you could say this podcast is a little bit of an entrepreneurial initiative.
For sure.
But it's a curse and a blessing, because it's up to you to stay disciplined to do it. And I don't want to say motivated, because motivation comes in waves. We're not motivated all the time, and that's the bottom line. It's about whether or not we're able to be disciplined and stay on our craft. And I think that's a difficult part about entrepreneurship, staying disciplined, putting in the work, because no one's, I understand it's you two guys on the same page, but like no one else is looking at you guys telling to get on your craft.
It's not like school where you have a timeline. Okay, this has to be in.
There's zero deadlines whatsoever.
You gotta make sure you keep up with the stuff. And honestly, like, it's a good learning moment. And I think it's fun, because I don't think it's like, it's not like school where it's like, it feels like it's a drag. It feels like, sometimes you don't want to be there. At the end of the day, like, we chose to get into this business because we were passionate about it. So like, we like doing it. It's something that we enjoy. It's something we're passionate about. And I think that's what kind of like keeps us going and keeps us motivated.
Yeah, and that's one of the things actually right now, being in development stages, that we find a little bit frustrating, which is that we actually want to be hands-on and doing things with our app, but ultimately we're in development, and Jake and I aren't developers, right? So the app is currently undergoing that process, but there isn't really much we can be doing from a business standpoint, just because until we have an app, it's very hard to kind of move forward, right? Like our app, it's not finalized, so it's not like we can be getting downloads right now, which is kind of the problem.
So this might be, like, honestly, you're in a stage right now where this is kicking your ass a little bit, because you guys said you guys are not developers, but it's still there's still so much work to do, but there's still that like gap, right? Like there's still so much to go, and you guys want to work on it so badly, right? You guys want to. You were telling me before this, you want to market it. Instagrams will be popped up at the end, by the way. Yeah. But like, you guys want to obviously market and advertise, but you guys obviously got to be careful,
100%.
About that.
Yeah, and it's frustrating because, like you mentioned, we do want to be marketing, we do want to be advertising, and again, we can't be for different reasons, but mainly because we want to make sure that we're keeping the intellectual property still to ourselves, without publicizing it too much when we don't actually have that app out there to actually get our user base established.
Yeah, for sure.
Another question: how do you think like entrepreneurship is like similar to life, like the game of life? How do you think that's similar?
I just think that there's so many roadblocks. It's not always easy, being an entrepreneur. It's, stuff goes wrong all the time. Me and Dan have kind of faced a lot of roadblocks throughout the way, and it's how we've reacted. And I think that that's life. Life, it gets tough, it gets hard, but I think it's how you move forward doing it. And I think that that's the same with business. It's how you take the negative things that happen and you turn it into like the best outcome, and you turn it into a positive. So I think that alone is how entrepreneurship is a lot like life.
Yeah, and I would say it's, for me, I agree with that answer, but it's more so about the actual connections and the relationships. So I think during life you build those connections, you build relationships with people, and that's kind of an inherent part of life. But when you're doing it through entrepreneurship, when you're running your own business, you're doing that every day, right? That is what your business is based on. It's based on developing relationships with people, reaching out to people, getting their help, and offering help when you can to others. And so we've already connected with literally dozens, if not, I probably not hundreds yet, but definitely dozens of industry professionals, people in the travel industry, successful entrepreneurs, people in tech, people, different developers, literally dozens of developers. And we have been able to share knowledge and obtain knowledge from these people, even though we might not go through working with these people. Let's say we might not go through with partnerships. We might not be fostering an actual working relationship, but at least we're actually learning from them things along the way. They give us a little tidbit here that we can use elsewhere, that we can apply to other places. And so that, to me, that's what's been really huge, is knowing that tomorrow, I can knock on their door and ask them a question and they'll be there to answer it.
Yeah, sure. I think that's important. So I would argue that entrepreneurship or, entrepreneurial initiatives are very similar to life. There's bumps in the road. No one's going to push you to get up and do it. You are the only person who is going to, make that decision, make that move, take that next course of action. I think it's very similar to the game of life. Kevin O'Leary is very, very big in the entrepreneurial space, and he is very harsh. I watch a lot of Shark Tank.
Yeah.
What would you guys react to? Like, if you guys want to, would your end goal be to go to Shark Tank? Like, would that not be the end goal?
That's not even an end goal. That's just like a step along the way. But
we gotta get there.
not end goal, but like, but like even bigger goal, because you would obviously want to scale a little bit before you make it to Shark Tank.
Yeah.
But okay, how would your actually I can't. I was gonna ask you for your Shark Tank pitch, but that's giving away too much about the app. But
yeah, well, I mean,
we could do it.
Like, how would your Shark Tank pitch look like?
All right, you want to do the pitch?
I don't know if we can do the entire. I mean,
you guys have a pitch, guys.
Until if there's a better way.
Yeah, we can do it up to then, probably.
All right, Dan. It looks like we're here now.
Yeah, man. But how do I know? Like, what do you want me to send you for gas?
Well, I drove you a lot last week. Like, I think that still needs to be taken into account and added on.
That's true, man. But what about like all the times I drove you in the past couple weeks? There's been quite a few times.
All right, let's pull out the calculators.
Yeah, just gotta bring it out here. So probably gotta carry the 2.
Yep, and then divide.
By 3, I think. Right.
Mm-hmm.
If only there was a better way. And that's kind of like the opening.
And then we get going.
That is actually really good.
And it's a bit corny,
awesome.
But it does the trick, and people like it. And we actually, thank you. We actually participated in the John F. Wood Hub Incubator Program pitch competition last semester.
Sweet.
And we won. So
you guys won that. Yeah. Congratulations.
Yeah.
So that was
hopefully I think that we have a strong pitch.
Guys, that's actually sick. I did not expect you guys to do your own pitch. That's going to be a really good reel. We're going to get that. Right. They're gonna get that. That's awesome. But yeah, just to kind of touch on that whole Shark Tank thing. I noticed, and you guys obviously know this as well, but Kevin O'Leary is he's very straightforward. So if he were to tell you your business sucks, like how would you respond to that?
Well, I think that, a lot of businesses are defined not by the positive feedback, but the negative feedback. So I think, me and Dan are confident enough that, we have something. And I think that, we just, whether you get, people like it or they don't like it, I think you're defined by the no's. You're defined the people that say no to motivate you to keep on going.
Right. Yeah, because I feel like there will be people, like, down your path that will tell you, like, no, this is not a good idea. I would never use this. This is silly.
Yeah,
and then
for sure.
And then you wait like a year down the line and they have the app on their phone. Big things coming for sure, guys. Okay, kind of touching on the theme of the episode and kind of what we have going on in the podcast here. I'll ask both you guys. Maybe starting with Daniel. What do you think your definition is on for an open mind? If you would just kind of describe that in your own words, what do you think that means?
Yeah, great question. For me, an open mind is mainly about not thinking that you know everything the best and that every person you speak to can teach you something you don't know.
I like that. I agree.
So I'm pretty big on that, because ultimately you're never going to have the same experience as another person, right?
Correct.
People live different experiences. People grow up different ways. And the day-to-day obviously varies for every person. So going through life thinking that you can learn something from everyone around you is definitely what I would say is an open mind, and it's definitely something that I've been trying to practice more and more.
So understanding that you don't know everything.
Yeah.
Okay.
I think so.
Yep.
In a nutshell.
Yeah, I think that having an open mind is just going into everything with no background, no knowledge, and just creating your own understanding of things. The way I like to think of it is leaders and followers. They're two different groups of people. And I think that true leaders, they're people that are able to create their own thoughts and move forward with it. And I think that people who tend to follow, They're people that just go based on what other people say, and then they just form their opinions based on that. And I think that that's just a great way to kind of look at it.
Yeah, there was my second episode, it should have been the first episode. I actually missed this. My second episode was basically talking about the basis and the foundation for my podcast. So my goal is to inspire and change people's mindsets for them to be more, open and to strive for more of a growth mindset. So, those who have a growth mindset, they're not afraid to fail. They go into challenges and experiences with the lens that they can learn something new and get something out of it. I think it's really important I like what you said, Daniel, to kind of not have any like prejudices or any biases before you go into something, because everyone has something unique about them, and something important, or something that we can all learn from. And I think it's important that we accept that that's an actual truth, and we don't act like we know everything.
Yeah. There's actually Jordan Peterson's book, The 12 Rules of Life, which is like one of the best sellers of books in psychology for young adults. One of the chapters, I think, is actually titled "Always Assume that you can learn something from the person next to you or from your neighbor," which is basically just saying that same thing. It's saying to always assume that you can learn something from the people around you.
I've yet to read that book. Yeah, I've yet to read that book. I've heard it's really good. The 12 Rules of Life. Yeah. I should get into his books. Okay. What would you guys say the workday of an entrepreneur looks like? I know it's still in a little bit of like a confusing stage.
Well, I think it varies, to be honest.
Yeah,
I think
sure.
Ultimately there's always going to be some points of an entrepreneur's career where they're waking up early in the morning and working till late at night. And
right.
That's a reality if you want to be successful, right?
Mm-hmm.
9 out of 10 times you're going to have to grind. Some people get lucky, but ultimately every success story starts, I would say, pretty much the same way, which is that people were working out of their garage for all hours of the day, trying to, you see like the Bezos story with Amazon, how he was working out of his garage all day. You can see the story with like Mark Zuckerberg and Facebook, how he was literally wouldn't sleep.
Even Bill Gates too.
Yeah. So I think it really depends. But then sometimes, in times even like this right now, you go through a lull and there's not much you can be doing. And sometimes
is that discouraging?
Yeah,
for sure.
When it's like,
yeah, I think so.
When it's like you actually can't do any more work, but you want to.
And we actually had to speak to an industry professional about this, because we went out to dinner with a industry professional. I probably won't name him just for privacy reasons, but
respects.
He was very involved with BlackBerry in the early days, and he actually was like doing a lot of cool things, like flying on the BlackBerry jet with the founder.
Wow.
He even met like Lazaridis a couple of times. So yeah, really established. And we were actually asking him, like, right now there's not much we can be doing. We're in development stages. We want to be marketing. We want to be advertising. What do you recommend? Like, there must be something we can do right now. And he was actually one of the guys who gave us most of the feedback, saying, look, guys, it's tough. I know you want to be doing stuff. I know you want to be grinding right now, but ultimately you have to protect your company first, and you want to make sure that you're keeping the intellectual property protected, right? Because you don't want to go off and start advertising this, and then it actually does blow up, and you don't actually have the app to even get a user base yet, right?
For real.
Yeah, for sure. I would agree. It changes every week. Like, I know a few weeks ago, Dan was working like crazy on the kind of incorporating it and like the legal aspects of it. Me and Dan, we're fortunate. We always have a meeting every Sunday night. We go through what we've done, and we go through like what we need to do for the week, and we kind of adjust to that. So I think every week it really, changes. And I think right now, like for us, it's kind of like developing, like, supporting the developer and like asking, like, what do you need? Like, how can we make this progress? Like, you know what I mean? So like, we try to give him as much assistance, because right now, like, he has to do a lot, you know what I mean? And like, I think like right now it's like, it's up to me and Dan to make sure he has like the support he needs and has, so that way he can, hold his end on it.
I do think you guys are a really good duo, though. Daniel, I haven't really spoke to you much. I remember we met briefly at LSC, but Jake, I noticed you at LSC where your group, you guys came second. Was it second? You guys
came
third. Okay, yeah. This was a case competition that I've mentioned many times throughout the episodes, but a case competition held by the Length Sustainability Conference, a subsidiary of the LSA, and we did a case competition, and Jake, we were up against Jake in the finals, and like Jake actually, like, you actually killed it on stage, man. I even told you after. I didn't even know you, but I'm like, man, you you got a sales, entrepreneurship kind of mind to you, man. So
appreciate that. That was actually my very first in-person case competition.
Yeah.
So like, I was like shaking on stage. I was like,
dude, you actually killed it for your first time.
But then once you realize why do you have to make it so serious? Like, have fun with the moment. If you mess up, you mess up. You keep on going forward. Like, nobody's really, Lang's a very supportive, understanding, group of people. So like, once I kind of just, thought about that and thought like, a lot of people, they don't care. Like, just go up there and do your thing. And just kind of really helped me calm down and just keep rolling.
So would you say like a good piece of life advice would be to, don't take things too seriously?
100%. I think you got to have fun with the journey. And, I think that has to do a lot with entrepreneurship as well. And, like you said, you need to stay motivated. You need to keep on going. And I think a lot of that is just having fun with it. You know what I mean? Like, me and Dan, like, we have a good time doing it. We're constantly joking around. We're constantly calling each other, laughing about certain stuff that, without Dan, like, I think that, me and Dan doing it together, like me doing it with one of my good friends just makes it a lot easier.
Yeah.
And it's just.
What are your thoughts on that brothership, Dan? Like, how does working with Jake kind of make the experience?
Yeah, no, it definitely has its ups and downs.
Okay, I'm sure it does.
And
I gotta ask you a question after. Both you guys.
You definitely have to kind of be mindful of that as well. So we even do this thing sometimes where if one of us are really busy or we've been grinding the app a lot, and one of us is calling the other one for like a friendship thing, then you actually have to preface it with the text saying, answer the phone. It's about friendship, not business.
Yeah.
Because
it's you got to separate that.
You do,
100%.
and that's why it's important too. Like if even if you're spending, if you're just hanging out and going out, let's say downtown to hang out with some friends.
Yeah.
We try and say to each other, we're not bringing it up tonight because sometimes you need to let it sit on the back burner and actually enjoy that time together without. Letting business get too much in the way.
It's not easy, it does have its obstacles.
Yeah.
It has kind of gone in our way, but we definitely try to have it so we separate, business.
Have a balance. Really important.
Yeah.
The question I was gonna ask both of you: have you guys ever gotten into any like fights or anything, or any like large disagreements?
Yeah, probably.
Yeah.
Any notable ones where like you're like. You probably thought Dan was super wrong, and like vice versa.
Yeah, there was probably one.
Do you guys want to go like a little bit into detail about that?
You want to talk?
No, you can start. You tell me. You can start the over.
All right, so
let's squash it.
We're good now, but So earlier in the semester, I signed Dan and I up for. It was actually a Lang event called the Guelph Entrepreneurship event. So it was about all these small startup businesses to come out and make posters, show off your business,
right,
and stuff like that. So I was really looking forward to doing it with Dan. Great brotherhood. Working on the business, but it was during exams, and I know Dan's a very school guy. You know what I mean? As much as he loves,
he's a dean's lunch attendant.
As much as he loves Split the Tank,
like
he's a school's guy. So I don't know. I guess he was a little behind on his studies
I just want to not behind for the record.
Not
what happened
behind,
was we had a couple of very hard courses. There's a couple very hard courses in accounting. Just like there's probably a lot in management economics and finance. There are a few culprits that kind of really
You didn't mention marketing. You didn't mention marketing.
Marketing, I'm sure marketing has its hard courses too.
Kidding.
But yeah, it just so happened that this event was smack in the middle of a time when I had literally 2 or 3 probably of the hardest exams and then on top of that, Jake also initially gave me the wrong date for the event. So I actually did like kind of make the time and shuffle things around for the initial date, and then like a couple days after that, Jake got back to me and was like,
he committed to the new date. Keep that in mind. I said, Dan, I got the date wrong. He said, okay, thanks for letting me know. So he committed on the new date.
Yeah. Anyways, long story short, there was like a poster thing that I had to create, which I ended up literally trying to create. I undershot the amount of time that it would require to go through with that poster.
What kind of poster was this on? Like Canva, or was like an actual?
No, it was like an actual Bristol board.
So it actually did take a lot of
back
time.
To grade 5.
Yeah, it literally
Gluing,
was.
Cutting,
So I was a little bit outdated with my grade 5 crafts. Wasn't
Yeah.
really up to date on how long they would take, and obviously, I was a little frustrated with the whole situation, being in the midst of a tough exam season and having got the wrong date initially. And so I think everything clashed at once together. And then there was maybe a small period where there was not a lot of communication. But aside from that, it was.
And I think honestly, I think that we both could have done things better. I think my communication skills, at the start could have been better with Dan, and I could have
Right.
told him, it's the right date. And I think that, Dan maybe could have, managed his time a little better to make sure he got the right amount of studying done with the right amount of.
Fair, but then Dan
I think it comes back to the open mind, right? If we're coming back to the open mind theory, and we ended up getting a coffee together, and we both sat there and listened, which again, I think that ties in strongly to the open mind, where regardless what you might think or what you hold to be true, it's important to hear the other perspective and kind of take that in. And maybe even if you think, or even if you do, you might think that you shouldn't have done something different. Maybe you think that you should have in hindsight. No matter what it be, it's still important to kind of listen to what the other person thinks, how they feel, and then truly to try and come to an agreement, because ultimately it doesn't really help if people are just upset with each other and you're not going anywhere, right?
I think this is actually the perfect example of having an open mind, because you think one thing, you think another, but it's important for you guys to consider each other's sides, right? And because you know stuff that Jake doesn't, and vice versa.
Mm-hmm. And and like that's obviously one of our bigger arguments, but we're constantly not really getting into arguments, but have disagreements about the business, and you know what I'm saying? And then, I think that we just have to talk it out and just move forward and see what's better for the business and have an open mind.
Yeah. So how would you say, having an open mind has helped you guys in your life?
Yeah, it's a good question. It's tough to even arrive to one specific scenario. For me, if I'm being honest, I think the open mind is something that I'm still trying to master. I'll be transparent. Like growing up, especially through high school, I was pretty maybe you can say set in my own ways, or kind of reluctant to change, right?
Yeah.
So I'd be very kind of enclosed in what I thought to be true, and I wouldn't really move around much from that. But I came to learn pretty quickly throughout high school, especially towards, I would say, like my grade 12 year, and then especially in like first year university. I think maybe it's like getting to university, you realize you don't really know anything, right? Like in the grand scheme of things.
Yeah.
And then I kind of just started to realize like it's beneficial to approach this from a different point of view. And since then, I've kind of been trying to do that better, and I think I've come a long way for sure.
Good for you.
There's probably more. I think there's always room for people, but I think I've definitely. Yeah, I've seen the improvements, and I've seen it help me. So
awesome, Jake.
Yeah, I completely agree. I've been told I'm pretty stubborn as well, and I think that me and Dan's stubbornness is what caused us to kind of clash. And I think that that's where we have to be an open mind, because if you have two kind of stubborn guys go at it, who's gonna what I mean? Like how are you gonna move forward? So I think that that's kind of really helped us have an open mind, and I think that kind of running this business a lot has really had me help kind of me develop more of an open mind, because this is both me and Dan's first time. Like we knew going into this, like we knew nothing. We thought we had a night, we saw a problem, we wanted to solve it, but this is our first time, right? So and we understood that. So I think that that's kind of really helped us, create an open mind, just not just in entrepreneurship, but in general. And I think it's really helped us moving forward.
Yeah, that's good. I would agree as well that I wouldn't say. I'm going to sit up here and say I wouldn't say I'm a stubborn person, but my mom's probably going to be watching this and be like, yeah, you definitely are. No, I think I even mentioned this like for myself. Like I definitely saw a little bit of a character change coming from high school, where I think I was a little bit, enclosed and reluctant to change, as you alluded to.
For sure.
And I really think as soon as I got to university, it was my second year by the time I got to university, because COVID was all online for the first year. You guys obviously know that, right?
Yeah.
But yeah, when I got here, I kind of knew that I wanted to take advantage of everything that the school had to offer, and join clubs, play intramurals, hang out with different people, kind of put myself out there, and I really think it's helped me get to where I am today.
I think
so that's
a sign of maturity, right? And I think everyone goes through that same kind of, or maybe not everyone, but I think a lot of people go through that when they get to university out of high school.
Correct. Yeah. And I think it's important for maturity and for development. And if you want to get any better and you want to be successful, then I think it's essential.
For sure.
Okay, guys, kind of moving on here. I know you guys have like a vision for your business, but like, what would you say the goal is? Is it anything more than just, the objective of splitting? What's the goal?
Yeah, I think ultimately, obviously we have a business goal and we have an overall goal. So for us, the overall goal is ultimately to help university kids and also people. We have several target markets, but I think we're really mainly targeting senior high school students and university kids.
Right.
Is take control of their money, so to speak, and all the while increasing the amount of carpooling going on by eliminating some of the hardships surrounding carpooling and contributing to a greener and more sustainable future, which ultimately is the way forward in business. And I think everyone knows that a sustainable business is basically where we're going nowadays. You can't really have a business in 2023 that doesn't consider sustainability in some respect. You're basically, in my opinion, maybe some people disagree, but I think that you're not setting yourself up for success if you're not kind of going after the way the industry is going, right?
Yeah,
So
you have to adapt there somehow to stay competitive. If you guys, I was doing this in CSR literally the other day, corporate social responsibility, where like if a lot of the industry is shifting to more sustainable, for example, even electric cars, like now you're starting to see like Audi starting to produce electric cars, when like Ford, Hyundai, Kia, these car manufacturers were already on it. Although Audi is a very, very successful car manufacturer, they're at a competitive disadvantage now if they're not starting to do that.
Right.
So that makes sense with you guys going to that.
And it's good with EVs too, because like that's another thing is like our app, again, like based on the technology we're developing for the actual application, we're going to be able to transfer it over to EVs as well.
Oh, that's golden.
Because the cost of electricity is, you still have to pay for it just like gas. And so that's another thing too, where we're kind of hoping that as more people move to electric vehicles, we don't think it's going to have any impact on split the tank, and that it's just going to help us continue to do that. But with
that might have been a good question to
EVs.
ask you. How is split the tank going to be affected with this EV movement?
Yeah, we actually have a joke. We have a joke in our pitch, which is like
split the motor.
Yeah, it's actually split the battery. Yeah, so we have like split the tank and split the battery.
Numbers on it. I can't remember the exact numbers, but we've done our research on how much the average vehicle takes to charge and how much it costs and how long it kind of lasts for. And I think people would be a little shocked to know that like it's more expensive than you actually think, and you also don't like get as much like efficiency
Distance,
out of it.
Right, Jake. I know you were gonna say something before, and I think I cut you off. You didn't get to your part about the goal for the business.
I think that me and Dan were just trying to build kind of a community, and especially in university cities. Like, I don't know about you guys, but I love carpooling with my friends. I would much rather be, in a vehicle
so much fun,
with my friends, playing music, talking, than alone. And I think that a lot of people, they don't do that because they just don't think it's efficient. Like, when you carpool, like, what do you really, get out of it? You don't get reimbursed for gas. There's always fights about driving. So I think that when me and Dan, we're able to kind of develop this app, I think that, like, we'll really be able to build a community, and we'll really see, like, carpooling go up, hopefully.
Yeah, I think that's really important. Great, obviously movement with the with being sustainable, because that's where you guys definitely want to adjust to.
For sure.
Okay, question of the episode. I forgot to do this with you, Nick. Sorry. When the episode comes out on Friday, I forgot to do question of the episode, but we're gonna pick it up from here. So, question of the episode is, if you were stranded on an island and you had to bring 3 things with you, what would those 3 things be? If you guys can answer now, go ahead. If you need a little bit to think about it, I can maybe start.
Yeah, you start.
You start. I wanna hear the like a little tidbit
okay,
from
so
you.
this scenario is based off of that you have every other thing to survive. I think this would just be like, because I'm not gonna sit here and be like, oh, I need food, I need water. Okay.
Yeah. Okay.
Food,
Wait. Does the island have
water.
electricity? Because that's kind of like an important one for me.
Oh, that's a good question. Should we make it for the purpose of this question?
No electricity.
No electricity. So we're going like just literally like what's it called? What's that movie called when with the guy Castaway? Is it like a
Castaway or Survivors?
Yeah. Is it like that type of situation?
You're on an island.
Yeah, let's go Survivor. Let's
Okay,
go Survivor
stranded
style.
island with nothing there except for the necessities. So you have like food, water, and clothing. Okay.
I would definitely I would first bring this is even a tough question myself.
I feel like a flare gun would be important.
A flare gun?
Like, so they know that where you are.
Yeah, that too, honestly. Okay,
Well,
if
that's
you,
but I feel like
do they know where you crashed? Like, do they know like?
Oh,
the
no.
general-
This
There is a lot of
This is
there's
just
a lot
the
of
assumption, man. I knew this question was gonna get a little
Yeah,
bit
there's
political.
a lot.
Okay. I'm gonna say in the instance that my iPod Shuffle doesn't die, I'm gonna bring an iPod Shuffle with music.
Oh, okay.
And I can listen to the music for as long
So you're
as I
going
want.
leisure, okay?
Yeah. So I'm gonna go iPod Shuffle. I will go. I'll bring a book. I'd definitely bring a book as well. What book would I bring?
book you were talking about. I think you gotta
Yeah,
get
the
on that one.
12 rules of
apparently.
life. Yeah, because honestly, man, I think I might need them after being straight up.
Yeah.
I'll bring a book. I'll bring my iPod Shuffle. I guess I don't have one, but I'm just saying in the moment. And then I feel like I should bring like something fun, like a basketball. I don't even know what I'd do with that on the island. Maybe like a soccer ball or like.
Yeah, it's not bad.
I don't know. Okay, what do you guys have? I'll maybe come back to my thing here.
I completely agree with the book part.
The book
I think
part,
that it
yeah.
would help you, stay like psychological, like,
Man, I'm not trying to go insane,
Exactly. You need, something like that. And I agree you need something for leisure. What that is, obviously personal preference. I'm trying to think. I think
Daniel,
a
do you have
basketball would be nice, but like, do you have,
do you have
where
a
you
hoop on the
dribble-
court?
Yeah.
Yeah. Daniel, do you have anything in mind or what?
Yeah, I think I have like 2 out of my 3, but
Okay,
I'm
okay.
still
Let's hear
I would definitely bring like some kind of solar powered
Here we
type
go.
type.
Who's the
Well,
accountant here?
I'd bring like some kind of solar powered apparatus that I can use to like
Solar powered generator.
He's that guy.
Solar powered car. I'd actually bring my water powered car.
Yeah, well, I think it's fair. Like, I think you could get like a nice like solar powered generator. Like,
Okay.
it's within the rules, I think. And
I'd
then
bring a genie to grant me 300 wishes.
and then I would bring my I would need something to actually use that on, right?
Yeah,
So
yeah.
I'd probably, honestly, like if I was stranded on this island and I had no hope of ever being rescued, well, assuming that like I had service, I would probably just bring like a nice big TV with that generator, just because I'm just gonna
that's
be
a
having
good idea, though.
I'm just gonna be having a nice like.
TV and like on like a cable box.
Yeah.
Assuming you guys see
And
this.
I mean, if I'm already spending the like I have at the beach there probably, so I'm just chilling, and then I'd probably bring my my puppy from home.
Oh, forgot one. Sunglasses. Yeah.
Oh,
Sunglasses.
sunglasses.
Yeah, but you'd need
That's good.
sunglasses. I think.
Sunscreen,
Ooh.
Yeah,
Sunscreen would be.
That's
I
good.
think my skin would maybe adapt after being there for so long, but I'd
Yeah.
probably get skin cancer eventually.
Yeah.
Okay, Jake, have you thought of any? So, what did you say before? Like a flame gun?
think.
A flare
I
gun?
think
Yeah,
a flare
flare
gun,
gun,
flare
so I
gun,
can
yeah.
get out.
A
You know what I
beacon.
mean? I think you got to think of your exit strategy.
Yeah.
I think a book. I completely agree with you on the book.
Okay,
you
book.
know?
Yeah.
And then I gotta go with Dan's on the TV. I think that's a good one. Too.
Yeah.
Well, you don't have a
yeah.
generator though, so you only
Right.
you gotta leave the flare gun and take a generator.
What if I take an iPad and I just download a bunch of movies?
Yeah.
But how are you
they
gonna
have a
charge
battery
it?
Life.
Okay.
It's actually a
It's
tricky
tough
question.
You gotta bring a generator. That's
Yeah,
right.
you got to bring a generator. Okay, guys, I think we're kind of at our wrap up mark here. Is there anything else that you guys like want to share? Anything else you guys want to say? Any questions for me?
No, I would just say, to everyone here, because the topic's entrepreneurship today, I would
Yeah,
say if
for
you have
sure.
an idea, definitely capitalize on it. Ultimately, there's only like one stage of life, I would say, where you can really capitalize on an idea in a relatively risk-free environment.
Right.
At some point, you can make the argument that there will always be an element of risk, but in the absolute grand scheme of life, I would say that there's one point in your life when you can capitalize on opportunities and your kind of your ambitions and your goals, and there's a relatively low risk that associates with it. And I would say
When you're younger.
to keep that in mind. Yeah, at this stage, when you're in your young 20s, maybe your mid 20s, right out of university, you're not tied down necessarily by a family just yet. You don't have like a job that you've been working at for years, and so it kind of gives
Yeah.
you a little bit of
Although
flexibility.
we often do, think it's with the tank as our kid.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Constantly gotta feed it, gotta
Yeah.
nurture it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Jake, what about you? What would your message be to like any
Yeah,
entrepreneurs?
I would for sure also just say, just go for it. And I think the people, like if people were to, go for it more, they would be so shocked on, the positive feedback
Yeah.
and how supportive people actually are. Like
Right.
Dan and I, we've had nothing but, a great experience. And I think that the people,
Yeah.
inside the Lane community have been nothing but supportive. They've been
Yeah.
with us, ever since every step of the way. They truly do want to see us, succeed. Like I don't know about you, when you started the podcast, like, did you get a lot of like messages like, "Hey man, congrats, like good stuff," like going
I
for
received
it?
nothing but amazing.
Exactly.
Yeah,
amazing
I've actually
feedback.
I personally have found that people are way nicer than I thought. Like
Yeah.
from this whole
Like
like
I thought
yeah.
people would be like, okay, like question
But
the idea.
one thing I don't want us to get mixed up of is that like everyone who's supporting us are all of our friends. We haven't even hit the real world yet. Like if I
sure.
really start to take this like in my career, like
Yeah.
there's going to be a lot of. But then again, I have no large scale yet. But like
Yeah.
when
Sure.
that does come time, I'm
Yeah.
sure I will
You're gonna
receive
get-
a lot more backlash. But like
Yeah.
right now, it's been supportive and and
For sure.
we're gonna ride that.
And I think that just like shows, you know, how supportive the Lane community is and how
Yeah.
tight knit of a group we
Yeah,
really
we-
are, and how we really truly want to see each other succeed.
Yeah, we got a lot of great talent like at the business school for sure, and like
sure.
everyone's been supportive with me. Sounds like with
sure.
you guys as well. I totally agree with both you guys as well. I think if you guys have an idea, if you guys have something, go after it, because I promise you will regret if you didn't do it. And I'm sure
Yeah.
you guys would maybe say if you would regret if you didn't go after
For
it.
sure.
For sure.
Really has, you know, changed our lives for the better. So
Great. All right, guys. Well, that has been episode 4, Entrepreneurship. Once again, mine and Nick's episode is dropping this Friday, March the 3rd. That video will already be out, so I don't even know why I'm saying that, but this is going to come out later. But once again, I appreciate all the support, all the feedback on the Instagram and on the YouTube. And we're gonna keep going with this. And once again, thank you very much, boys, for coming.
yeah, thanks
Yeah.
so much
Thanks for having us, man.
Really
Appreciate it.
appreciate it.
All right, guys, and we're out. All right.
All right.